I spent 2 years thinking about one moment. He set me up. In our world, you always go back. He just left him there. That's what I can't forgive.
I wanted to ask you, you know, the movie's obviously based on a video game.
Yes.
And the video game, like, didn't have a story. I mean, you're just driving in cars fast. So when you read the script and saw, like, here's a story and there's a plot here, like, were you excited about it? What did you think?
Oh my God, I was so surprised.
Yeah.
I mean, when I saw, I gotta be honest, when I saw Need for Speed, the script on my desk, I just didn't know what to expect. I wasn't really expecting much. I'm like, all right, well, I'll read this. And I started reading it, and I was just blown away by the story. I loved it. I thought it was such a fun ride. And also, it had such an intense emotional journey. Yeah, you know, you're right. I mean, there was no narrative in the video game, so they were able to put whatever story they wanted to this film. And so as long as they were using fast cars and putting the audience in the driver's seat, which they did all the time, it was great. Yeah, it was so fun.
Well, that was Scott, that was his idea, right? To do everything practical.
Everything practical, zero CGI. You know, he's a second generation stuntman. His father was one of the most badass stuntmen ever. And he created the helmet cam back in the day, like in the 80s, early 80s. And so they used that a lot back in those old classic movies, the helmet cam, so it looked like you were actually in the driver's seat. And now, you know, we can do it with just so many different cameras. I mean, we use a lot of GoPros in this film, believe it or not. It was great.
Did that make you sort of at ease a little bit, knowing like, okay, Scott, he knows this stuff.
Yes.
He's behind the camera. I'm gonna be in good hands.
Yeah, I mean, there's not a single day that I felt like my life was in danger. I mean, they know this stuff. They're not just throwing you in a car and wishing you luck.
Right.
There's a lot of science that goes behind all of it, and they've been doing it forever. You know, it's not. I mean, some of these stuntmen were, you know, 4th generation stuntmen, which is incredible. And so they just live and breathe it, and their main priority is just safety.
There's a great chemistry between your character and the Marshall Motor Boys. Was that like right away with you and the other actors? Yeah, because it drives the film. You know, it makes the film work.
And you know, it's definitely all on the page, but since we all just got along and we just we never really kind of like went back to our trailers. We just hung out on set and just goofed around and talked shit. It was fantastic.
When you guys read this script, were you like, oh man, this is a good story, there's good characters, good plot? Like, were you down?
I thought there was definitely some really great potential stuff, and it all kind of depended on casting, who they bring in for those parts. It was cool because everyone had a very different role to fulfill, kind of the whole group. And I did, you know, I thought the idea of like, okay, these guys are coming together for, you know, to avenge their buddy. That's a cool kind of, you can sink your teeth around that. And then once I started seeing the casting, and I said, we all met each other, I was like, I think we got a good shot of making something, you know, really fun, whether it's taking the material that's there already and elevating it. And John and Scott, John the writer, was totally open, and if he threw an idea, he'd you know, be happy to collaborate. And Scott had great ideas too, so that was the whole goal, to try to just keep making it better.
Was there a lot of sort of, not necessarily improvising, but kind of coming up with guys?
Was there? Well. Yeah, a lot of stuff in the group. They would be improvising, and they loved it. They wanted us to kind of keep doing it. And you know, Rami said earlier, like when they would cut, there was almost a lot of great moments that they didn't get because we'd keep it going with each other, just as buddies. And they should have kept rolling.
They should keep rolling.
Do you like that? Do you like if they keep rolling and kind of catch everything?
I like that. I've been with some directors who just will roll on you and you don't even know, and then you're watching the movie and you're like, oh my God, I had no idea.
But it's some honest performances. It's some honest,
right.
Yeah.
And I'm not crazy about it sometimes because, you know, it's like you get into character, you know, you're not always in character.
Scott, did you sort of see yourself kind of grow as an actor doing this film? Did you sort of see some improvement?
Every project I do, I grow, and I grow off the, you know, people I'm around. You know what I mean? Because I didn't have any like traditional training. I didn't go to junior art or you know, have an acting coach that worked with me every day. And it was really like, you know, I did How to Make It first season, just no acting coach, just raw. And you know, second season, I made sure to get, you know, a coach and fine-tune some things. And that was quite some time ago, but I'm even sure like Ramon and Rami still learn something new every time they do something. It's about growing, and you know, I look at this film and it is the first project that I've done where like I can look at the performance and I'm not really nitpicking. You know how actors do this. We watch our work and say, oh, I did that better. Why didn't they use that take? But this was just all across the board. I think we all hit it off. The camaraderie was there, and it was so authentic and real that there's no way I could have lost on any of those shots, or Rami or Ramon or Aaron. You know, it just worked. It just stuck.
What did you go over with Scott? What was it that you wanted to make sure was in it for your character, for you to be a part of this?
It was important to me that Julia was going to be someone I wanted to play, and if there were going to be major limitations, and if it was just going to be a, you know, pretty bland, flash in the pan kind of dull role, then probably wouldn't have done it. So it was kind of understanding we were on the same page with that, and he certainly had this real desire to give the movie a heartbeat.
Can you talk a little bit about that relationship between your character and Aaron's character in the film, and what you were looking for to sort of develop with that?
Right. So I guess at the beginning, understandably, he thinks she's a bit of a pain in the arse, and then and she thinks he's shut down, and it's going to be a very kind of exhausting, trying 48 hours. But as can happen in life, they have to come across situations and deal with obstacles and work together to get through it, and they learn a lot about each other. And I really think that, you know, all human beings are all insecure about whatever, and I think it's really just a comment on kind of human insecurity and how do you react when you're that confined with somebody.
Well, and that's a nice romance that sort of drives, no pun intended, drives the film.
Right, oh yeah, then they fall in love, but yeah.
So it's nice to sort of have that there, you know, for the audience.
I think so. I think it's something you can really invest in. I think the cars are there for the people who love cars, and I think the story's there for the people who want to go see a story, feel part of something. And so I think the film hopefully has a couple things to offer there.
What did you kind of want to put into this story? What were you hoping for with the script to really bring this movie alive?
Well, I think the way you phrase it is I wanted to take the video game and bring it to life. And for me, life means doing it for real. CG would just keep it in the video game. And so we wanted, I think that's the reason, hopefully, that Steven Spielberg and Stacy Snyder pretty much wanted me to direct the film, because they know that's what I do. That's kind of my signature as a filmmaker, is everything's real. And in this film, and it was fun because it was a super challenge for Lance, was I wanted to do all the stunts and everything for real. I have zero CG. And I think it really does lend to the game in a way, because the game's really realistic and it's fun. And that was our challenge, was let's take that fun factor that's fake in the video game and bring it to life. And I would look at and do some crazy stuff and look at things and go, Lance, can we do this? This is gonna be awesome. And he'd be like, no.
Well, Lance, what was the hardest thing to pull off? What was the hardest thing that Scott said, let's do this, and you're like, oh man, how are we gonna do this?
Well, it was probably the Koenigsegg race.
Okay.
You know, the crash that we did there. You know, he showed me live footage of some, you know, real F1 wrecks of the way that these cars, you know, act like a foil if they get thrown off, you know, get sideways, the wind, right? At those speeds.
At 220 miles an hour, they turn into airfoils, and and the way they float up in the air, right? And I would show him, I go, I want that. And I know that's gonna be difficult, but that's your job.
Okay.
Now go and do it.
Yeah, you know, and luckily, you know, I surrounded myself with a great team of people, with effects guys that, you know, we could really help me build things that I would need, you know, at a moment's notice. And basically we just went out and they built us a lot of fake cars that we could try to recreate this image that he wanted. And we went out and just kept testing and testing and testing. And, you know, I thought I hit the mark, and I'd show him video, and he'd like, well, that's a nice, valid attempt, but I need it to be like this. You know, the motor weight's on this side.
He was so excited because they pulled it off, right? He's like, you're gonna love this. And I see it, I'm like, let's do that's really good, man. But and he was like, what do you mean? I said, no, 'cause I was just really, really specific on the way I wanted the car to fly. So it was exactly what I saw in F1.
But it was crazy. We actually got exactly what he was looking for.
I mean, exactly.
We replicated
It was perfect.
the exact
I
shot.
think that's why it's so effective in the movie.
And if a sequel comes up, are you back directing a sequel?
If they want me to make another sequel, I'm so back. I had so much fun making this movie, and I think our little brains have a whole bunch of other crazy ideas that we'd love to do with these cars.
Boys,
We missed you, brother.
It's time to celebrate.
Call up some females. Do you know any pretty ones?
You like your mama?
What are you thinking, Toby?
This could put him away for life. It's time we make him pay. But first, we're gonna need a fast car.
Y'all ready?
We're doing this.
Racing is an art.
Revenge will surely come.
But racing with passion, that's high art. And I think that's Toby Marshall driving the chariot of the gods. I'm willing to give $6 million to anyone who puts a stop to him. We'll settle this behind the wheel. I can feel love, vengeance, motor oil all swirling together.
There's an APB out for your arrest in 10 states. Maybe we should rethink the plan.
I'm never gonna stop.
You are out of your mind. I love it.